Is the old Soviet Union truly gone, or does its ghost still haunt the Kremlin halls and echo through its corridors of power? The question lingers, does the spirit of the Soviet era still shape the decisions made behind these ancient walls? Russia today is a land of striking contradictions, where the past and present collide on every street corner. Gleaming skyscrapers and the presence of global brands suggest a modern capitalist society eager to embrace the world. Yet the thunder of military parades and the rhetoric of Western adversaries unmistakably echo the Soviet era, reminding us that old habits die hard. This isn't accidental, it's a carefully crafted reality, a blend of nostalgia and power politics. Vladimir Putin's Russia borrows heavily from the Soviet playbook. The symbols, the rhetoric, the sense of a nation besieged by outside forces, all are revived and repurposed for a new age. Is this just for show, a performance for the world and for Russians themselves? Or has Russia fundamentally reverted to its old self beneath the surface? Understanding this question is key to making sense of Russia's actions, from its domestic policies to its aggressive stance in the war in Ukraine and beyond. To truly grasp what's happening, we must look beyond the surface, beyond the consumer culture, the glittering malls and the global brands that mask deeper realities. We need to examine the structures of power, the control of information, and the mechanisms that shape public opinion. We must also consider the mindset of the people, their hopes, fears, and the narratives they are told and choose to believe. How much of the old Soviet system remains embedded in daily life, in institutions, and in the national psyche? Has the Soviet legacy simply been repainted, or has it evolved into something entirely new, uniquely Russian yet unmistakably shaped by its past? Russia is not the USSR reborn, but it is a nation deeply shaped by the shadow of its former self, forever negotiating with its own history. Let's peel back the layers together and see what truly lies beneath the surface of modern Russia. To truly understand today's Russia, we must look back and remember the Soviet Union, a nation that shaped not only its own people, but the entire world. The USSR, officially formed in 1922 after a bloody revolution, was a superpower built on the radical idea of communism. In this system, the state owned everything: factories, farms, even the land itself. Private property was abolished, and the government controlled all resources. The Communist Party ruled absolutely, with no tolerance for opposition or dissent. There were no real elections, no opposition parties, and no free press. The government tightly controlled information, shaping what people could read, hear, and say. The state controlled every aspect of life, where you worked, where you lived, even what you believed. Propaganda filled the streets, reminding citizens of their duty to the collective. Dissent was crushed by the KGB, the powerful secret police who watched for any sign of disloyalty. Those who dared to speak out faced prison, exile, or sometimes even worse fates. Fear was a constant companion for many. Yet the USSR was also a source of immense pride for its people. It played a crucial role in defeating Nazi Germany during World War II, sent the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into space, and projected its power and influence across the globe, from Cuba to Vietnam. For many ordinary citizens, the state guaranteed security, jobs were assigned, education was free, and healthcare was available to all. Life was stable, if not always comfortable. Life was predictable, if not prosperous. People often waited in long lines for basic goods, but they rarely feared unemployment or homelessness. This mix of fear and pride, of hardship and achievement, is the USSR's complex legacy, a legacy that still stirs strong emotions. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, it was a seismic change that sent shockwaves through the world and left millions uncertain about the future. The red flag came down for the last time, marking the end of an era. Russia began a chaotic and often painful journey toward democracy and capitalism, with new freedoms but also new hardships. But the habits, memories, and symbols of that era didn't simply vanish overnight. They went underground, lingering in the hearts and minds of many, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. Today, those old structures and mindsets still shape Russia's politics, culture, and society in subtle and not-so-subtle ways. The Soviet experiment ended, but its shadow lingers on, woven into the fabric of modern Russia. To understand modern Russia, we must confront and grapple with this powerful and complicated legacy. When Vladimir Putin, a former KGB officer, took power in 1999, he promised to restore order and pride. He centralized authority, creating a power vertical reminiscent of the Soviet system. Political competition is tightly managed, opposition figures are sidelined, and United Russia dominates. Elections exist, but outcomes are rarely in doubt. Putin's personality cult echoes Soviet leaders. He's portrayed as the indispensable, strong hand guiding Russia. State media reinforces this image, legitimizing his rule. Russia's foreign policy mirrors the Soviet confrontational stance toward the West, framing conflicts as defensive struggles. By reviving these tactics, the Kremlin rallies the population and justifies its grip on power. The Soviet art of control is alive, just updated for a new era. In the Soviet Union, the state controlled all information, creating a sealed reality. Every newspaper, radio broadcast, and television program was carefully curated to reflect the official line, leaving little room for independent thought or dissenting voices. Today, Russia has built a modern version of this system, adapting old methods to new technologies and a digital world. The internet exists, but independent news is blocked, social media is banned, and fake news laws silence dissent. Online spaces that once offered hope for free expression are now tightly monitored and restricted. State TV remains the main source of news, especially for older Russians, broadcasting a steady stream of propaganda. For many, it's the only window to the outside world, shaping opinions and beliefs day after day. The message is clear and relentless. Russia is righteous, under siege, and its critics are traitors to the nation. This narrative, rooted in Soviet style, creates a powerful us versus them mentality, encouraging unity against perceived enemies. The West is painted as decadent and aggressive. Russia as the defender of tradition and moral values, standing firm against outside threats. The goal isn't just to promote one version of events, but to create confusion and cynicism, making people doubt everything they hear. Disinformation floods the airwaves, making truth hard to find. Competing narratives blur the line between fact and fiction. Many people retreat into apathy, disengaging from politics and public life, feeling powerless to change anything. A confused, tired population is easy to control, as uncertainty breeds passivity and resignation. It's a sophisticated update of the old Soviet information war, blending nostalgia with modern tactics to maintain control. The Kremlin's grip on truth remains unbroken, shaping reality for millions and ensuring its power endures. The Soviet economy was a command system, state-owned, centrally planned, plagued by shortages. After 1991, Russia embraced chaotic capitalism, birthing oligarchs and wild inequality. Under Putin, the state reasserted control, especially over energy giants like Gazprom and Rosneft. These companies serve both economic and political goals, with leaders loyal to the Kremlin. Western sanctions pushed Russia toward Fortress Russia, economic self-sufficiency and resilience. The state builds domestic industries, bypasses Western finance, and amasses reserves. This echoes Soviet autarky, but with a capitalist twist. The system brings stability but stifles innovation and keeps Russia dependent on resource exports. Ordinary Russians feel the pinch inflation, fewer choices, lower quality. It's a hybrid economy, capitalist on the surface but guided by old Soviet logic. Nostalgia for the Soviet Union is a powerful force in Russia. Many remember the 1990s as chaos and humiliation, and look back on the USSR as a time of stability and greatness. The state encourages this nostalgia, promoting a sanitized version of the past, victories celebrated, repression downplayed. The Russian anthem uses the Soviet melody. Soviet symbols and films are everywhere. What people miss isn't communism, but the sense of security and shared purpose. In uncertain times, the memory of the USSR offers comfort. Putin taps into this longing, using it to legitimize his rule. But nostalgia isn't universal. Younger Russians, raised with the internet and more freedom, are skeptical of state propaganda. This generational divide is a key fault line. Russia's future is a battle between the memory of a powerful past and the hope for something new. The past is never far away. Russia's youth have no memory of the Soviet Union. Their world is shaped by the internet and global culture. Many are skeptical of the state's anti-Western narrative, connected to global trends and ideas. But not all are liberal. Patriotic education and propaganda target the young, promoting loyalty to the state. Some see Putin's stability as a positive contrast to the chaos of the 1990s. This has created a divided generation. Some dream of a more open Russia, others embrace the state's vision. Many young dissidents have left the country seeking freedom elsewhere. Others believe a strong state is necessary for Russia's survival. Russia's youth are not a unified bloc, but a battleground of competing futures. The struggle for Russia's soul is being fought within this generation. The outcome will shape the nation for decades. Despite the echoes, Putin's Russia is not the USSR reborn. The biggest difference is ideology. The USSR was driven by Marxism-Leninism, aiming for global communism. Modern Russia is guided by nationalism and traditionalism, not a universal ideology. The state now allies with the Orthodox Church, promoting moral superiority over the West. Russia isn't exporting revolution. It's securing its own place as a great power. The economy, though state-led, is market-based. Private property and consumerism are central. Daily life is shaped by capitalism, not communism, bringing more inequality but also more freedom. Russia is not as isolated as the USSR. Travel and internet access, though restricted, still connect it to the world. The elite are integrated into global finance even as they criticize the West. Modern Russia is porous, not sealed off. These differences make it a new kind of system. The Soviet past shapes it but does not define it. Russia is something old and something new. Is Russia today the same as the USSR? No, but also yes. Russia is a hybrid modern on the surface, Soviet at its core. It uses 21st century tools, market economics, the internet, global finance, to pursue old goals of centralized control and great power status. The Kremlin has revived Soviet tactics, top-down authority, information control, the cult of the strong leader, and a confrontational foreign policy. But it's discarded rigid ideology and the command economy, making the system more flexible and resilient. The result, a state that values power over rights, stability over freedom, and national greatness over prosperity. Nostalgia is a political tool, wrapping modern authoritarianism in the comfort of a glorious past. Russia is not the USSR, but its shadow looms large. To understand Russia, we must see both the new and the old, the iPhones and the ghosts. The struggle between memory and aspiration defines Russia's 21st century.